Point one, the applicant is a family member.
Thank you for that. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the previous meeting? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor McGrath, that the minutes of the April 14th, 2026. That.
Sorry.
Can I get a mover? Well, they'll hear me then. April 14th, 2026 meeting be approved. Any comments or questions on those minutes? All those in favor? And motion carries. There's a number of items on the consent agenda. Are there any requests to remove any item from the consent agenda for discussion? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just looking for some information or clarification on 6.1, the provincial by Ontario by Canada. To Sean or Jessica, are we on the hook to make sure that?
No.
Okay.
We had a long explanation given at county council. Now, unfortunately, they had just received it the day before, I think it was, and they did their best to get through it and try and explain it. But it's not our responsibility to police the vendors that we're purchasing from. It is their obligation to do their own work.
So would they be getting the same poke as we are? Like Lavis or Curtis Smith or et cetera, et cetera?
We didn't ask the question of someone that we were purchasing from, other than were we responsible for what they did? So I can't answer for sure about whether they're receiving the same documentation we are.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but from what I understood though, from that conversation, where it gets sticky though, is buying a pickup truck or something like that. Whereas the serial number, if it starts with a 2, that's Canadian made. So if there's no Canadian made, you know, like say Chevy or Ford or Chrysler that you normally would get, Toyota, I think, is the next one. Quite often Toyotas are more expensive than the big 3. So we might be forced into buying a Toyota, and quite often, you know, so where does that money come from then? We might have a budgeted $75,000 to buy a Chevy 4-wheel drive or something, and the Toyota is the only one that fits the criteria, and it can be $85,000. So then we're on the hook for the difference. From what I understand, anyway.
Yeah, and I think Mike explained that once the price of the Canadian made product got to be above 10%, there may be some other leeways or something at that point. I think that was the number that he had mentioned. So it's not like a Canadian product could be double the price and you're still forced to buy it. But an extra 10% is a lot when you start adding it onto the equipment that you're purchasing. Now, we did have the discussion about the fact that used vehicles are not covered under this. So if we wanted a new truck and could find one that was only 1 year old, you can buy that truck and not have to do any comparisons.
The typical project, stay tuned.
So how do they police that?
Yeah,
I mean, how would? I mean, like there's no, for example, there's no plants in Canada that builds Dodge pickups. They're all made in the United States. And I'm not sure if GM even has a plant that builds pickups in Canada.
I can't answer that question. I don't know. And as far as how they're gonna police it, I suspect they may still be working on that, but I think they're gonna follow it up somehow, because they seem pretty adamant about this too.
Yeah.
Put this kind of documentation in writing, not just as a suggestion, but this is what you need to start doing.
See, one of our objectives was always buy local, right?
Where we can.
Where we can, yeah.
Yeah, this kind of flies in the face of what our ideals had always been, was that if we find the lowest price, the ratepayer is getting the best deal. And I did comment at county council, I can appreciate the rationale behind what they're trying to accomplish to keep the Canadian economy going. And of course, the provincial government's putting this one out because they want the Ontario government to be strong. But it will cause some problems. There's no doubt about it. Any other questions that, on the correspondence that anybody wanted to raise? Deputy Mayor?
I'd like to full support 6.2. But I'd like to question maybe Sean, if he's available for his thoughts on that. It looks like MTO is trying to fix a problem that isn't broken or something. Matt?
You said 6.2?
Yes.
I think that it's more a tweak to the OPSD. So like, we already follow Ontario engineering standards. So I think it's just a tweak to kind of make sure that it's more consistent across the province and not as scattered. Cause it does, it's not unusual for every different municipality to have a slight tweak on their contracts. So. I think that's.
Yeah, just like the Municipal Engineers Association, they weren't really in favor of it though, so they weren't.
Yeah, I would give you an example recently with, our asphalt paving where, it's not uncommon for larger centers to index their pricing based on the price of oil, for instance, or the price of, asphalt cement. We don't. And the OPS has a index or a clause in there saying that we have to invoke that part of the OPS for it to apply to us. But if the MTO is doing a job, the contractors have to follow that appendix no matter what, right? So that's where it benefits lower tiers to not be as stringent following the OPS all the time.
Right.
I think that's where that dialogue is coming. Like it allows you to make those necessary adjustments on a case by case basis, and then just painting everything with the same brush.
Right, but that sounds like what MTO wants to do though, right? Is paint everything with one brush.
Yeah, like when it comes to the OPS, right?
Right.
But the OPS, the way it is applied to the MTO does not work, say like on local roads. It makes building local roads much more expensive if you had to follow MTO guidelines all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd still like to support this.
Okay, absolutely. So moved by the deputy mayor for support of number 6.2. We have a seconder, Councillor Chartrand. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carried. Is there any other items that anybody would like to raise at this time? Seeing none, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Dalton, second by deputy mayor. That the consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.10 be received for information and approved. All those in favor? And motion carries. Under public meetings, hearings, and delegations, we have a committee of adjustment public hearing for minor variance MV 04/2026. Can I get a mover and a seconder to go into the public meeting? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Fisher, that the council of the municipality of Huron East adjourn the regular meeting of council at 6:10 p.m. to go into a public hearing of committee of adjustment to discuss the following. A minor variance application MV 04/2026 for WR Alexander Farms Limited at 44434 Brandon Road, Ethel. All those in favor? Motion carries. Can I get a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda for the public hearing? Councillor Deal and Councillor Newell, that the agenda for the public hearing of Committee of Adjustment dated April 28th of 2026 be adopted. All those in favor? Motion carries. And I will turn this over to our planner. Welcome, Shay.
Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, this is just a presentation on minor variance application B 0/2026, located at 44434 Brandon Road. With the next slide, please. So it's just an aerial photo of the subject property outlined in orange here. So the farm is located just immediately north of the settlement area of Ethel, with an entrance off of Brandon Road there. Next slide, please. So the application is requesting one minor variance to reduce the required MDO2 setback from the required 319 meters to 313 meters. This is to facilitate, an addition or a second broiler barn, on the farm property. Property is zoned AG1, general agriculture, and designated for agriculture. And next slide, please. So just a site plan showing the proposed new barn, highlighted in blue there in relation to the existing broiler barn, so it'll be just north of the existing barn. That, red circle there is the required MDS, setback, so the 319 meters, they would need to be, entirely outside of that 319 meters to meet the required MDS. In this case, they're just shy of it, so the reduction is approximately 2% from the required. But due to site factors, topography of the site, it's not possible to locate the barn much further without requiring extensive amounts of fill. So this is kind of a sweet spot, pushing the barn further up north, just inside the MGS setback there. Next slide, please. So then just a site photo here. So just to the right in the image here would be the existing barn, the existing broiler barn. So the approximate location of the new proposed barn. For that image there. Next slide, please. In terms of comments received, there was no comments raised by members of the public, hearing staff or agencies on this application. Next slide. And briefly in the policy review, the application meets the intent of the drainage zoning bylaw and official plan as it's a normal permitted agricultural practice, and is considered to be minor and desirable for the appropriate development of the lands further than the existing barn, and posing no new odor impacts to the abutting settlement area. Next slide, please. So with that, the application is recommended for approval, just with the standard condition for the time period being valid for 18 months. Any questions on that?
Any questions of members of council? I only had two that popped up, and you already answered the one about why they didn't just move it 6 meters to avoid this process altogether. But when there is on the same farm, a barn that's actually closer to all the residential areas, doesn't that almost negate the MDS?
Yeah, so with MDS, the MDS setback is at least applied to the nearest point of the new addition. But in most cases, there would be a perceived impact just depending on the level of the addition. There could be introducing increased odor impacts. So that's, I guess, kind of why MDS is structured that way.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any comments or questions from members of the public? Any comments or questions from the applicant themselves? Seeing none. Can I get a mover and a seconder from council members to approve the minor variance application? Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Fisher, that the committee, that the council approve the minor variance application for MV 04-2026. All those in favor? And motion carries. And can I get a mover and a seconder for adjournment of this portion of the meeting? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Dalton. That the committee of adjustment be adjourned at 6:16 p.m. All those in favor? And motion carries. And we go on to 8.1.
Great. So I'll keep this one brief. So this report here is just an update on some of the changes from the most recent provincial bill 98. So just have this report for information. Several different changes relating to the Planning Act in here. So there's a summary in the report here. Many of the changes are super surprising. Some of them have been kind of brought up through recent legislation changes. I think the province has been considering them. And nothing of major concern in here. This report has been brought to County Council, I believe, already, and I believe they provided some comments on a few items I will just note that the last page does kind of summarize which ERO postings are still open for comment. So the commenting period has ended for some of the changes in here, but some of the changes we are still able to make comment. If council wishes. I'm here for any questions on that report.
Any questions from members of council? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Shay. Shay, I think you've spoken here, or the report speaks to taking a lot of staff time to update the 9 different municipalities there. Like, it sounds like it's just wordage, isn't it, that you have to update?
Yeah, so we won't know exactly what that looks like until the full ERO posting is in effect, but it sounds like it will be kind of just, yeah, kind of to bring some more consistent verbiage to official plans across the province. And yeah, will be quite an onerous undertaking for staff across the province to update all of their official plans.
Seems like a lot of work for all you're going to gain out of it.
Yeah.
Also too, in the report, it speaks to the minimum lot sizes. Do they address parking at all? Like, we're starting to notice that here in East, trying to smaller lot sizes and where do you park all the cars? Is there anything going to address that or?
Yeah, thank you. I don't think they've spoke too much into any changes as far as normal parking minimum requirements that are in our zoning bylaws, so hopefully that stays untouched so we can keep the minimum as is. We'll monitor that and see if there are any changes that are coming from the province.
Right.
But as it stands, as my understanding is right now, we can still have our minimum 1 parking space per unit, which would help to keep the density a little bit more appropriate on some of those smaller lots that we are starting to see.
Councillor Chartrand?
Yeah, I only have one question. It's under where it says removing authority for consent conditions. It says, this change involves proposed regulation, which would have the effect of removing council's authority to require certain measures as conditions of land division.
Mhm.
Like, how's that gonna affect us and our decision making?
So I think for this one, again, we'll kind of have to wait and see exactly what is proposed out of this, but our understanding is that there might be certain types of conditions that council would no longer have an ability to require as a condition of consent. Things that are maybe a little bit more above and beyond, and probably not a lot of things that are outside of Huron's practice. I think it was more related to enhanced development standards that wouldn't be as common that we would require. So I understand that the standard conditions that we always have on our consents would still be also ability to do that. But beyond that, there may be more limited.
And that was my concern, that they're gonna take away our standard conditions.
Yeah, as it stands now, I think hopefully the standard conditions that aren't kind of going above enhanced standards should be left alone, but again, we'll have to kind of monitor and see how those proposals actually come into play.
Councillor Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Shay, I have trouble with square meters. For this minimum lot size of 750 square meters, it would be 15 meters by 50 meters, if I'm doing the math right, which to me is 47 or 48 feet wide and 160 feet deep. That's a fair sized lot, is it not?
So that the minimum, the proposal from the province is for 175 square meters.
175.
So just shy of 2,000 square feet.
Got it wrong, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
So what would the dimensions be for that then? 175.
Would be quite tight, like, minimum frontages, I mean, our current standard being around 15 to 20 meters. I mean, like closer to 10 meters on some lots, potentially less, I don't have the exact.
So 10 meters by 17.5, so that'd be 30 feet by 53, that's small, okay. Yeah, all right, that explains it better, thank you.
For reference, our current minimum lot size, in Huron East on a serviced residential lot would be 450 square meters. For like an interior residential lot.
Yeah, I got that. So, the 40% lot coverage, that, they're not talking about changing that?
As it stands right now, we think we'll still have the lot coverage minimums, the ability to have those in our bylaws to kind of,
I know the 750 was the size of the house, that's, okay, that, so there's no talk about making 50% or 60% lot coverage, so they could have a bigger house on these tiny lots.
at this time, no, I mean, it is expected that we probably will see some site specific requests. In some cases, if smaller lots of this size are proposed, but I understand we still will have that ability to keep that lot coverage maximum in our bylaws.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, there's no need for a motion on this. This was just a report. And Sandra did warn me last week that this was your last night.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks to Megan for reminding me again. I commented to Sandra that you've done a great job since we took over for Denise. I think council's been very happy with your reports and how things have flown. So is with sad hearts that we see you move on. And I think she might have even told me who might be replacing you, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Jen Burns was
Jen
with
was
us
actually
previously.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Jen.
Hiding for as long as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly appreciate that and have really enjoyed working with all of Huron staff and council and I've very great hands with Jen. So we'll be doing some file transition throughout the week and then, yeah, she'll take it from there.
When are you officially done with the county?
Friday. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the time that you spent with us.
Thank you.
We are down to number 10, reports and recommendations of municipal officers. And the first one is tender for Brian's and Anderson Drive in Brussels.
Yes. So the tender for the project closed last week. As excavating and rental was the low bid. So the recommendation is to go with Taz Excavating for the award the tender to them for this project. As I've kind of listed in the project details, we are constructing the remainder of the subdivision streets. That includes Street A that connects Bryan's Drive, Anderson Drive, and Service Drive. And a small portion that's left of Anderson Drive that was not part of the plan of subdivision when this project originally started. The other components of this work are laneway aprons, sidewalk, and boulevard restoration. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from members of council? Councilor Shertran.
So where are we getting the over budget money from? Some reserve?
No, so this project is covered by the former gas tax grant.
Okay.
And it will still, the overage is still covered by that.
Did appreciate seeing that in the report, both for this one and the next one. And staff may have always had a plan of where the money was coming from, but I don't think it ever used to show up in the reports so that we understood where the extra was coming from. So I think that is appreciated, that it's in there. That was good. Can I get a mover and a seconder to accept this? Moved by Councilor Fisher, second by Councilor Deal. That the council accepts the tender of Taz Excavating and Rental of $332,964.67 for Brian and Anderson Drive, Brussels, as noted in the report. All those in favor? And motion carries. Next one, the Vanastra Recreation Center pool repairs.
Okay, so I think this is better news than what we were expecting, so. So the recommendation is that council will accept, the proposal for the repair work to the Vanessa Rec Center from Hollandaise Gardens. Just that background information is that, Vanessa Rec Center was subject to a closure, issued by public health due to our turnover rate, that we weren't able to meet regulation turnover rate. Again, in our previous, meetings that we've had before, it wasn't our operational defects or anything like that for what staff were doing, it was just how the pool was constructed. So, we were working very closely with our contractor that we have been using for a long time for this facility. And they were able to propose, a sustainable and operable, repair to the facility. So, included in the repairs, so it actually includes part of our capital project that we were planning for the 2026 as well. So I think that's why this project actually works very well, is because we were already doing work by relining the tank. That's how they're approaching the repairs as well. So they're gonna be taking it from inside the tank. So that's why I was explaining that as there's less disruption or less invasive approach to the repair work. So, in the repair, we will also be getting, like I said, the capital project being done, we'll be receiving 2 brand new pumps. That gives us more horsepower than what we had before. As well as, we'll be adding 2 more skimmers into the pool, which then that gives us more draw, as well as 4 new jets, which will give us more return into the pool as well. So that's how we're going to be able to increase our turnover rate with that. And then on top of that, they will also replumb our mechanical room as well to make some of the lines bigger in order to handle the capacity of the more water to move. So yeah, with that, the contractors has also indicated that they are available to start late summer, so end of August, and then going into September, which is an ideal time for us to actually have a closure. Our summer day camp program is winding down at that time, as well as our swimming lessons are pretty much exhausted by then. And then the summer program or fall program, doesn't usually start till mid-September, so. Unfortunately, it's unavoidable, but we will have interruption with our daily programs such as our water fitness and everything else, but we still will have access to the Brussels pools, so perhaps we could be a little resourceful and utilize the pool a little bit more in Brussels for the couple of weeks that would affect when Brussels pool is still open. So.
Any questions from members of council? I just had a couple. When I read the first letter or the letter from HPPH, and it referenced a year of either 1970 or 76 or something like that, saying any pool constructed after that time frame had to meet this. So I presume that means any pool that was created the year before, they're gonna let it go. They don't care about the flow rate, which seems like an issue for me when it's considered a health risk to begin with. So they're gonna let us carry on now because we have a plan in place and when something's going to happen. And the company that's putting the new equipment in or doing all of the work, are they gonna supersede the 3 turnover volume that were required by any amount? Or are we just gonna be borderline right on that?
I can't answer that it would be superseding it or even the borderline, but I believe that we will be above it, the supersede. Just for the fact that we weren't that far off of obtaining the turnover rate. We were pretty close, but we just couldn't, right? So we are, like I said before, we are adding 2 more skimmers, which provides that more draw, and 4 more return lines, the jets. And then the piping size is increasing, so it should supersede, not significantly, but it should get beyond the three turnover rates in a 24-hour period.
So are they only having to dig up What side would that be? Well, the side that the utility room is on, is that the only side that they're having to dig up on the pool?
Yes, yeah, so along where the slide is.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's kind of hard to say which, I would say that's the west side of the pool for me, but it's kind of part of there, but yes, so, and they're going all along that side, so on the east side of the pool deck, there is already 3 skimmers there, and on the west side, there's only 2. So now that's where they're gonna add the 2, so now we'll have 4 on that side.
Any final questions of council? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Chartrand, Councillor Newell. The council accepts the quote of $112,835 for pool repairs as presented in the report. All those in favor? And motion carries. And next was the letter of support to the Minister of Health. Read the Huron Hospice funding. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Fisher. That the council approve the prepared letter of support to the Ministry of Health as attached to the report. Any comments or questions? Councillor Chartrand.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we also discussed the possibility of having a delegation on this, and I saw an email that delegation requests are now open.
And it's also attached to the agenda, so that's our next item, so
Oh,
we can
okay.
capture that.
But I wasn't sure
And any other,
if we were doing the delegation or was Huron Hospice doing it.
I think it has to,
municipalities would have to.
yeah, it's gotta be a political body.
Okay, because we asked the gentleman that was here about that,
Yeah, he said no.
so, okay, thank you.
Want to add anything at this point or?
Not to the letter, no.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of endorsing the letter? And motion carries. Thank you. So we are down to correspondence, Association of Municipalities of Ontario. AMO delegation meeting requests open until May of 21. Are there any items of discussion that any member would like to see us raise with a minister if we have the opportunity? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only one I could think of, just listening to it Monday, was with the Minister of Health about the program here, Clinton, hospice, and also ask if we get accepted while we're there, if they could tie family health team's budget to CPI while we were there, if we get in. But I haven't thought of any others since, where I plan to ponder intensively until the end of May. Thank you.
The CPI request, I think is reasonable, to come from Huron East and possibly other municipalities. I would suspect the one for the hospice should come either from Central Huron where the hospice is located and or the county as a whole. It might be kind of overstepping our boundaries a little bit, even though we agree with the suggestion. I would want Central Huron to feel it was a big enough deal to make a request on their
I
own.
would imagine that they've been to see them as well, probably.
I would hope so, for
And
sure.
if you see Mr. in that county, you could say we'll go with them or something like that to show support.
Absolutely would.
That'll work.
I don't think it would hurt to send our request in though, either, like this letter that we have here.
No, we've already approved to send the
Yeah.
letter, but not a letter for a delegation. We've sent the letter to the minister.
I just wonder if maybe we should all be sending it.
Oh, I'd love to see a joint one that came from the county and every municipality in here in county showed up for support.
Yes,
At least one representative from each of the 9 lower tiers would be a pretty strong signal.
it would be. So that's why I don't know whether it would be wise if we sent that request in ourselves and started the ball rolling.
Okay, I'm gonna say we've got, at least one more meeting before the 21st.
Mhm.
So we can still do it at that time, and I would say that if you and I bring this up at county council. And have this exact discussion during councilor's comments at the start, suggesting that we all get on board together
Yes.
as a support team.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So can I just get clarification if we are still putting in a request for family health team's budget to be matched to CPI without the Huron hospice piece until we hear further from county decisions?
Yeah,
What
so
we're doing?
that was moved by Councillor Fisher as a request, and okay, I got a seconder by Councillor Chartrand, so. We don't normally do motions for these, do we?
Not normally, but we can.
Okay,
It's helpful to have the motion just for the record to go back on that we know what we're requesting, but.
okay, all those in favor? And motion carries. 11.2, Huron County Pride request to the municipality and county councils to raise the pride flags and declaring June 2026 as Pride Month. Comments or questions? It's a request. Does anybody want to move it or just move on? Moved by Councillor Wilby, second by Councillor Fisher. All those in favor? Motion carries. And we are on to number 13, which is the council reports, and I'll go to the deputy mayor for county council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our last meeting last Wednesday, in emergency services, I jotted down a few things. Ambulance offload times are a concern, always are a concern, month over month. I picked out a few figures here. In the month of March, the ambulances waited 446 minutes to offload at the Godrich Hospital, 30 minutes in Listowel, and 275 in Exeter. Calls for ambulance service in Huron East. In Tucker Smith, there was 59 calls. In Brussels, there was 29 calls. We accepted a tender to replace the windows and doors in 6 of Huron County's apartment buildings. The amount of the tender was $1.7 million. There was 145 apartments affected, or excuse me, to be worked on in this particular contract. We purchased 2 ambulances for a total of $548,000. Ambulances are replaced in their 6th year and usually have between 300 and 350,000 kilometers on them when they're retired. We authorized the signing of the Brussels paramedic base lease. That lease is good for 10 years. We accepted a tender for highway marker paint for a total of $991,000. I think that's a 3-year.
I think so.
A 3-year paint for 3 years, I should say. We accepted the recommendation from the Huron County Clean Water Committee that they will wind down the program with a focus on tree planting and woodlot management, with all projects accepted by September the 18th and bills paid by November the 30th. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions from members of council? Seeing none. Next I have, any other boards, committees, meetings, or seminars that, anybody attended? Councillor Chartrand.
Yes, I'd like to thank Lisa, Carolyn, and Sean. I attended our birthday cleanup here in Seaforth. They did a good job organizing it, and it was nice working alongside our residents, going out and cleaning our community. So it was, we had great weather for it. We couldn't ask for a nicer day. But we had all 3 areas covered with Astor, Brussels, and Seaforth by those 3 individuals. So it was a good day.
Good. Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was just going to say that my wife and I participated in the Brussels cleanup too. It was a very nice night for doing that. And also too, I had the opportunity to attend the Lions convention and cabinet meeting in Brussels on Saturday morning. Brought greetings from the municipality. That I think there was about 150 guests there that morning there in Brussels. So it was a very good time.
Good. Any other members? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the Lions Convention, that's the first time they've ever had it as a 1-day event, and they were kind of leery of having small town, small community do it, where it's usually in Owen Sound or Orangeville or somewhere with a hotel, motel, et cetera, but, went off really smooth. People were very happy to be there. And then, Super Saturday on the eighteenth, I was unable to attend, but when I came home and checked up on it, I was very happy to hear that everybody could hear Ben Lobb with his auction this year. And I thought, hooray, the arena has finally upgraded the sound system. And then I was told that they went to Ernie King to upgrade the sound system and rented a system, so. Could we please look at our sound system in that building? I've only been asking for 10 years, and I'm getting tired of asking Mr. Marion and the rec committee, so that's why I'm bringing it up tonight. Somebody please do something with that. I don't know who it falls on, but we have the building, we want it used, and we can't supply things that people need when they rent it. Thank you.
Okay, it's just been passed on to me, Bob, that how about you make a motion that we include an upgraded sound system report in the coming year's budget so that it can be discussed by council at that time.
I don't really want to wait 9 months, but I will make that motion.
I can appreciate that, but we've already passed this year's budget.
Well, we can find a little bit of extra money somewhere. We have extra beer sales from the success of the Centenaires that we should be very happy about as well. It's something everybody knows by now, the Centenaires have won the local championship.
Beat Ripley up.
Yeah, we have extra beer money, Mr. Mayor. We could put a sound system in. I will make that motion.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Second by Councillor McGrath. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Are there any other committees, boards, meetings, Councillor Deal?
Yes, we had our fish fry on the 18th also, and we sold 501 tickets. So it was a very good turnout, very traffic jam in Cranbrook.
If there are no other requests,
Were you doing requests or were you just finishing up on 13?
I was finishing up on 13, but I am going to request at this point, so go ahead.
Thank you. And a couple of residents from Brussels asked me if we could look into the eaves trough on the north end of the medical dental building there in Brussels. I guess it's either fallen off or still hanging down there. And also too, they wanted to know why the railing was taking off I think the upstairs room there from the outside as well. So I think the railing is laying down there and some pylons up there or something, so. If somebody would know or how it got taken down or why it got taken
I'll
down.
get to it. I don't know it offhand.
Okay,
The railing at the side parking lots
Yes.
was damaged during snow removal in winter,
okay,
and it will be repaired.
okay. And if you could just check into the eaves trough too, they're falling down on it. And if I could just ask one other thing, I think when we had our cemetery board meeting, they were asking about a computer. Do you know
Yes.
what that's at?
Yes, we've put in the request through our IT department, so we need to replace, the best process is to replace one that's used every day if it's up for replacement, so they're just determining who needs to be replaced. And then we've already got them in contact to work with our volunteer rep for the system that he has on his home computer
Okay.
to transfer it over to a Huron's computer, so it is in the works, it just
Okay, thank you.
takes a
for
little
that.
bit of time of coordination.
Sure, thanks for that update.
Councillor Fisher had made a request at a previous meeting and I had shared this with our CAO, but I didn't know if I had left a request for it to be shared at the last council meeting. But Bob, you had asked about the potential of a CT scanner for Seaforth. Did you get the information that both Goderich and Stratford do have one? And in fact, it was a little over 6 months ago that an application was put in for one in Exeter also. So just my personal opinion that putting another one here would seem like overkill. I didn't know where you wanted to go with this at this point.
Well, I had heard wind of the Exeter one. I was hoping we could get our dibs in first.
So, so their request was put in more than 6 months ago. And I think their fundraising has already started because I can't remember which way it went. Either the province I think the province will supply the equipment, but all the renovations have to be paid for, locally. And I think that's where we got into it at county council, because the cost of renovations for the room, the lead-lined room, was costing more than the CT scanner itself. And so that's where the, or Fluffle came in. Of course, they came to county council asking for funding on it. But there are, two, close by at the moment, and possibly a third one coming. And at the time I made the request, or wanted to verify the information, I'm told that there's now a request that there may even be a MRI machine going into Goderich.
Yeah, that's in the works. I was definite on that. That's a $6.5 million touch, I heard. And the CT was 3.5. I didn't know if that included just the machine or everything.
I can't answer that question, I don't know.
It would be if they, so we don't know if Exeter has approval or not.
I did not hear, I just, someone that was apparently part of the group that made the application confirmed to me that that application had gone into the province more than 6 months ago.
I'll take a wait and see then. I can't see them having 4 in an hour circle.
I agree. Councilor Deal.
Both Listowel and Wingham also have CT scan.
Yeah.
So.
I
There's,
wasn't aware of that.
yeah,
But yeah, lots around.
I haven't had to wait for a while, so I don't know.
Well, you just didn't know because you couldn't hear it over the sound system.
Not going.
Okay.
Not touching.
Are there any notices of motion at this time? Hearing none. Are there any announcements by any members of council? Seeing none. Bylaws. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the confirming bylaw? Moved by Councilor Deal, second by Councilor Wilby, that the confirming bylaw be approved as presented. All those in favor? And motion carries. And motion to adjourn, Councilor Fisher, Councilor Deal. That the time now being 6:49 PM. The regular meeting now adjourned until May 12th, 2026 at 6 PM. All those in favor?